What do these have in common? Yes, they're all bridges. As a noun, bridge has two separate meanings. The one which most people would be familiar with is this one: a structure designed to bridge a gap. However, many sailors and cruisers will also know that this word can represent this: the command centre on board ships. Ever wondered why these two very different things share a name? To find that out, we need to go back in time to the early days of sail. Obviously, ships then were much smaller than what they are today. And as such, originally, ships didn't have a wheel. They had a tiller, which is directly connected to the rudder under the water. Back in the early days where ships had tillers, the coxswain would usually be placed on the tiller at the order of the master. Coxswain is an archaic nautical term for the ship's servant, and this term is actually the one which played a role in creating the term cockpit, which many people today associate exclusively with the command centre on aircraft. The area at the back of the vessel where the coxswain would steer the ship was usually referred to as the pit. Over time, this then became cockpit, as it referenced to where on the ship the coxswain could be found and where the ship's controls are located. Nowadays, cockpit can actually be used to reference the command centre on a variety of transport methods, including planes, trains, and even spaceships. However, this term hasn't really followed through on ships, has it? This is because the arrangement of how a ship is steered has changed. The tiller was replaced with the wheel. Whereas the tiller was directly connected to the rudder, the wheel was connected by ropes and pulleys, giving the wheel the advantage of being placed away from the stern and in a more appropriate place, allowing for better sight and thus safer navigation to the mariner. However, this meant that the design of the ship would also have to change. This saw the introduction of the quarterdeck, a raised deck above the main deck located at the stern. Did you know the quarterdeck is actually where Lord Nelson was fatally shot during the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805? Nonetheless, continuing with the theme of the video, the quarterdeck refers to the part of the ship where the wheel was housed. Eventually, over time, the wheel would become sheltered and enclosed by a small structure called the wheelhouse, a term which is still used today, mostly to describe the command centre on smaller vessels like fishing trawlers, tugboats and small yachts, etc. However, I have worked on larger ships where wheelhouse is stamped to the bulkhead above the bridge door, so it's still a nautical term very much in use today. As ships evolved from sailing to steam, one of the first forms of steamship was a paddle steamer, whereby you have a paddle wheel at the stern or on port and starboard side used to propel the ship through the water. To help you understand where the term bridge came from, we'll focus on the paddle steamers which had independent paddle wheels whereby they could alter the speed of the paddle wheels accordingly on port and starboard side in order to steer. For example, if they wanted to alter course to starboard, the paddle wheel on the starboard side would have to be running faster than the wheel on the port side. This would allow for a course alteration to starboard. Sticking with paddle steamers, the main deck would sit lower than the paddle houses, meaning that the view of the sea ahead would be particularly obstructed, which saw the invention of the bridge, a deck used to bridge the gap between the paddle houses and aid the navigator and master in navigating safely, which improved views of the sea ahead. As ships continued to evolve, paddles would become a thing of the past and would see propellers introduced onto ships, steered by a rudder. However, the concept of the bridge remained. Accommodation areas on ships replaced the paddle houses, and bridges are always raised towards the upper part of the ship for better navigation. The term wheelhouse to describe the part of the ship where the ship is steered on larger vessels has become pretty uncommon over time, mainly because of how much can be found on a modern bridge. Yes, you can still find the wheel here, but you also have independent engine and thruster controls, aids to navigation including radar and ECDIS, GMDSS equipment, controls for the watertight doors, ballasting systems, fire systems, stabilisers and much more. The term bridge really does refer to the command centre on a ship, as it's the location which controls all of the fundamental elements of the vessel's safe navigation. The origin of the term has long gone, hence why so many people don't know where it came from and why it's called a bridge. and this is why I thought of doing this video. So all that's left for me to say is thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video and would like to see more, please give it the thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you next time.